Welcome back to episode 5 of our top-down roguelike dungeon crawler. In this episode, we're going to make it so when our enemy hits our player, we actually lose some health and can possibly die. So first thing we need to do is add a heart meter or some way to see how much health we've got. So we're going to right-click, insert new object, and we're just going to scroll down until we get to tiled background. We're going to use tiled background for a very specific reason that will be made clear quite quickly. So we're going to create it called hearts. Going to add a new object, and I'm just going to import one that I've already got. It's really important to note that this is 50 by 50 as our image size. It's going to be really important for later. And you'll see that if I just resize this, now as I increase this value or increase this shape, more hearts appear, and this is going to be really important. So I just want to show one heart for now, and I'm going to place it in the top corner. Now, one issue that we've got, as soon as we hit play, our heart's going to disappear from the screen. So what we're going to do is actually add our heart to a HUD. So in order to do this, we're going to start by taking layer 1 or layer 0, and we're going to rename it to game. Okay, let's do that for capital G. And then I'm going to right click, add a layer on top, and I'm going to call this one HUD. So our HUD's going to be really important. So one of the big things that we have to do on this layer is once clicking on this layer, we're going to change our parallax to 0 x 0, so 0% times 0%. This means it doesn't scale the same as the rest of the level, which means anything that's now in our viewport that's on the HUD layer will remain on the screen at all times. So I'm going to click on my heart and just make sure it's now on the HUD layer. What I recommend after you do that is lock your HUD and then click back on the game layer. Don't accidentally place other stuff on your HUD, because if you do that, it's going to stay in one place, it's not going to move, and it's going to look very strange when you're playing it. Now if we load it, no matter how far we move across the screen, our hearts will stay in the same place. Really, really important. So now we can go to our event sheet, and the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new global variable. So you can right click, add another variable, and this is going to be called health. And it's going to be a number, and I'm going to set it to 3 to begin with. Then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to add new events. I'm going to say system. On the start of layout, so as soon as the game begins, we're going to say hearts dot set width. So if I just look for the width position, there it is. And this is going to be set to our health times by the size of each heart. And I know each heart is 50 by 50. So I'm going to hit done. And now when we load the game up, you'll see we've got 3 hearts appear because my starting value was set to 3. And we can just keep going with this. So if I change this to 10 now, and we load it up once more, I've now got 10 hearts. So really, really nice and simple system. So let's bring that down to 3. And now we're going to make it so if the enemy hits us, something's going to happen. So if enemy is overlapping our player, so let's look for the overlap option, there it is, and player. Or we can do this the other way around, we can say if player is overlapping enemy. I like having all the stuff to do my enemy separate to my player, just because we have lots of stuff to do with our player anyway, so anytime that we can use a different object instead of our player, I always recommend it. Then what do we want to happen? Where we want to do system, subtract from health by 1, and then we want to set the width again. So I can just copy and paste that line from before, like so, and let's see what happens. So the enemy's going to come over, and you'll see straight away all our hearts just vanish. So the reason this is happening is because it's constantly checking every tick if the enemy's overlapping us, which it is, which means it removes all 3 of our hearts. So we want to add some invincibility to our player. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a way to add invincibility and an effect all at the same time. So I'm going to go to our player, edit behaviors. I'm going to get rid of that move to, that was me playing around earlier. Add a new behavior, and we want this one called flash. Make an object temporarily flash, alternately between visible and invisible. Hit done. And on the side, we've got our flash settings. So we can see that it is there, flash no properties. So we can add a new event, or we're going to add an action, sorry. And we're going to say player flash. On and off time is 0.1 seconds, duration 1 second. Changing this would change our invincibility. So hit done. We're then going to add a new action or condition to this one. And we're going to do player is flashing. And then we're just going to invert that. So we can say that we cannot deal any damage or lose any hearts as long as the player is flashing, and the player will be flashing the second we take some damage. So we get a second of invincibility before we can take damage again. So now we can test it. You see we're not taking any damage. Second the enemy touches us again, we're flashing again, and then we take our final bit of damage. We can then do one more check, do player system. And under the system variables, we want to compare variable. We want to see if health is equal to 0. Then we do player.destroy. What I'm also going to do is add a new action. I'm going to do wait 2 seconds. And then I'm going to do two things. So the first thing I'm going to do is reset global variables, starting our game from the beginning. And then I also want to reset the layout. So I can do that by scrolling down and restart layout. So now if we test it, I'm going to lose some health, it's chasing after us, then the game ends, and then we'll restart again. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video, hopefully you've learned a lot from it, and you can now set up your character. One of the things that I've not included is knockback. If somebody has a really great way to add knockback nice and simple to the game, I'd really appreciate it. If not, please stick around for the next video where we'll start adding stuff like ways to attack our enemy back.